Your LinkedIn feed sucks, but it doesn't have to. I built Fix Your Feed to match you with the best career content in just 20 seconds. Find the right creators for your ambitious goals. Take the quiz today at fixyourfeed.com. Enjoy the episode. This is Coral, and you're listening to The Forward Thinker Show. Hey, it's Coral, and welcome back to The Forward Thinker Show, the podcast where we share the stories and expertise of global leaders in business and technology. Today, we are joined here with the one and only Ace from the most popular Gen Z startup all over the US, Series, the AI social networking platform. This is the head of growth. I'm so happy to have you here, Ace. How are you doing?
Great. Thank you again, Coral, for inviting me. I hope we just get to chat about literally anything that you're interested in, talk a little bit about Series, myself.
No, I love that. Well, the first question I always like to ask is, where are you from?
Yeah, I'm from Little Rock, Arkansas. And when
Mhm.
people usually hear that, they're like a little bit all over the place. They're like, oh, the most common thing I get is like, you might be the first person I've ever met from Arkansas. Where even is that? It's always nothing expected. It's always just all over the place. And then they ask like, "Oh, like what do you even do out there?" And it's like pretty much the same thing that anyone else does anywhere else, but at a smaller level.
So how did you get from Arkansas all the way to Nueva York?
Actually, full honesty, I never wanted to be in this city. Like literally as a kid, right? I was always just like, New York sucks. Like it's just so little space, so many people, it probably stinks. Like there's no reason why anyone should actually want to be there. You don't even make money. You might make a lot of money on paper and then you just lose a lot to taxes. And then going through college, just being able to meet a wide array of people and then recognizing what opportunity looks like and kind of the environment for opportunity, you quickly realize that you do need a lot of people in like one place to be able to access opportunity.
Mhm.
Like my friend goes to Columbia. Like I know a couple people in New York now because I do social media. Maybe this summer I'll choose New York over LA, which was a pretty big point for me. But it was like, okay, let's take the risk. Let's go to New York instead. Was making my own content for about a month over the summer in New York, and I just so happened to know a little bit about the startup world, had always been a little bit interested in what goes on and how very young people are starting to develop out companies that get invested by millions of dollars, crazy investors. So I was like, there's something interesting here, right?
Mhm.
And from there was obviously a couple of startups that I heard, and one of them happened to be Series. So while waiting for Adele's halal cart, shout out Adele's, it's pretty good.
Mhm.
I was waiting in line for my food, and I made this quick video just being like, yeah, Series is one of those startups that I'm actually really interested in. I think they're doing something cooler than most of the other Gen Z startups, and I just think it's interesting. From there, someone on the Series team had seen it. Some of my followers had sent it to Sean and Nathaniel because they were mutuals apparently, and I was
Mhm.
invited out to the office to just kind of hang out, or at least I thought I was coming to the office just hang out, see what they do because I don't think it's irregular for startups to have random people in their environments just so they can get maybe a little bit of creativity or they can just broaden their network generally, right? So I pull up to the office, not really expecting that much. And it seems like the marketing team was actually cooking on what their kind of biggest viral moment,
Mhm.
which was the Hamptons house. So they
Oh.
kind of gave me the pitch on what the Hamptons house was, like what they were thinking about doing for it. I'm like, wait. Like, this is a really good idea. It has all the perfect elements that you would need for like a really viral story. But I think like on the execution front, there's a couple things that we can do to make it bigger, right? Like we could do it at a bigger scale because of the amount of attention that it received after it was first announced. And then from there, I was just spitballing, kind of using like everything that I learned through marketing, content to kind of just really make this what I saw as like a bigger reality TV show, trying to really draw from essences like Love Island and all of the commercially successful reality TV shows that we've seen now. And they must have liked it because at that point, it was actually in that room after I gave my like sort of like long winded pitch. They're like, yo, bro, like, do you want a job? I was like,
Like, well, if you say so.
well, you would think, right? But like, I was actually very anti-job. I used to shit on people for wanting jobs, but I did understand the value that came from having a job in some capacity, right? Like if you did something that you really liked under people that you thought were inspiring, had the capacity to grow like your mindset a little bit, it can be fruitful because you get to learn things from different people, meet a whole different network of people, and you're doing it all under someone else's dime, right? So it is very much an experiential and important process for a lot of people. And it was really about finding like the right people who could usher that in. And I felt like after I got them pitching me an offer, I felt like Sean and Nathaniel could be those people. Like they were visionaries that I thought were very ahead of their time when it comes to consumer social. And I
Yeah.
thought at that capacity, they could really be thought leaders in the space. And there was definitely a lot of things to learn from them.
Did you ever think that you would work at like a tech company? Were you ever interested in tech growing up?
I wanna say yes, but also I wouldn't have expected it, at least in this capacity, right? Like, I guess it makes
Mhm.
sense because of social media that I work on something that is changing the way that social dynamics work, and it's kinda playing the anti-social media rule in a world that's very tied to vanity and fame and all these other, like, superficial elements. But I would say it's quite odd for an influencer to work for a company that's kind of trying to be anti-vanity, anti-followers, anti-elitism, because I think that's like the generalized sentiment amongst influencers. They want that elite status.
Mm. No, that's definitely like there's like this concept that I really love this concept called asymmetry of information. I don't know if you've heard of it. But essentially, like, if people who know less, like, you could sell to them if you know more, because the whole product is that, like, I know more than you do, and so there's, like, a side of people who has all this insider knowledge about things. It makes no sense to gatekeep information because for me, I've actually I'm such a whistleblower. I would say I'm such a person who loves to give, have like an abundance mindset, and that actually helped me more than like gatekeeping. I don't know if you understand what I'm saying. Like, I think community can help you out so much, whether you're trying to start something or you're trying to, you know, grow in your career. Either or, like having a network of really cracked people can change your life. I wanted to ask you if you had to network, because your whole company is about networking. If you had to start your network from scratch, what is the first thing that you would do?
I would say if you had to start your social network from scratch, you should really think about where you're going and the place that you are now. I think like a lot of people choose to have relationships with other people just off
Mhm,
of very superficial reasons. And I actually have a long-standing belief, which is why I think parlays perfectly into why I'm here at Series, that a lot of connections are innately superficial and aren't thought out that well.
mhm,
So if you're in a place where you don't have that many connections, one might assume that you should try to have more surface level friendships to have an access to a wider array of network. But I would find that investing into who you wanna be and who you are now and what deficiencies you have probably better parlays into the kind of network and community that you wanna step into, the places that
mhm.
you wanna go. So I'd lead with intention almost, and that requires more self-reflection than an external metric of, "I have to meet this many people," or, "This is how I'm gonna meet other people."
For people who aren't in like if they have an entrepreneurial spirit, but they're not in a location where that's not really supported, what would you suggest for them?
Yeah. Say, find a way to make a shit ton of money and leave the city that you're in, right? Like,
You gotta leave
realistically,
the city.
you are just in a ticking time bomb. Like, you are
Yeah.
losing time right now. You don't have access to things that you need. So you need to get bread and you need to leave and you need to find the place that is right for you. And I would say, like, for most people, New York City is that place to be because even though it's such a big city, it has a wide array of archetypes of people that I think anyone could find their group within New York City. Even though it might take a little bit of finagling to find that group, I do believe if you do make a good point to be out there and try to make an effort to get to know people, you will find your people. With if it's not within 3 days, then it'll be within 2 months.
That's awesome. I mean, obviously trying new things, trying something for the first time, that's going to require a lot of failure in that process. So
Mhm.
one thing that if I want to shift over to like your role at Series and kind of like any experiment that you guys have had, what's been your biggest growth experiment that failed and what did you learn from doing that?
Yeah, I mean, I wish I could speak to this more, but like over the small time that I've been at Series, which is about like 2 months now, we've just been going back to back hits. So I do want that moment to arise where we have like maybe something that hasn't like really landed and like people think like, oh, like Series is that viral star. Got them, we got them. Like they just completely pop. But quite honestly, we just haven't had that moment yet. And we're seeing that we have a very strong presence when it comes to our marketing. I would say it's one of our biggest moats as a startup, and our product is getting better. Like people are seeing the new landing pages, people are seeing the new features, they're seeing the AI friends being more responsive in more of a Gen Z, but also informational manner. And I think it's giving people a lot less things to criticize about Series. It's just people yapping because they want to yap, not because they have
Mhm.
actual valid things that they want to say about it.
I mean, I totally get that sentiment. Like when you are improving the product, you have to listen to your users and like what are the things that are going to bring them the most value because at the end of the day, if you don't have happy users, they're going to dip out and then you won't have a successful product.
Yeah, facts, facts.
My whole 2 weeks, that's what I've been working on with Fix Your Feed, because I
Mhm.
really think that the whole ethos that came from it is that I'm first gen, and I go to a state school, but I've been able to get opportunities at so many big companies. Had many scholarships, and I got opportunities of a lifetime just by following the right creators and being surrounded by people with an abundance mindset. But like nowadays, like the LinkedIn feed, it sucks because the first time you see like your first connections are people from your peers or your school, they're all just bragging. And I'm just like, that makes no sense. So I would go on TikTok and I would find actual informational advice about recruiting for tech. Like now, because of how I moved in college, I have referrals to every single company I want to work in, like Fang, whatever, anything. And it's just because of how hard I've worked and because of like strategies I learned through the content I consumed and the people I surrounded myself with. And so I'm like, this shouldn't be the norm for like the next set of people. So I spent
Mhm.
50 hours literally in my room. My mom thought I was insane. I literally researched 100 profiles for like tech students should follow. And I made it into a little quiz. I posted about it. And then the post, it got like 21,000 views. I had a lot of requests on my website. And then I made a fake TED talk that got the attention of the director of product at LinkedIn. And now I'm meeting with him to literally roast his product to filth and get more content creators on the platform.
Right, right.
And honestly, like something that like I learned throughout this whole process is like when you're building something, you don't build things based off of your imagination. You build things based off of the fact of a really strong pain point that a user group is having. So like for Series, for example, I would think that like the strongest pain point that your user group would have is someone who wants to expand their network or they want to meet someone, but they don't want to go cold. They want like warm intros. And I really love that concept of warm intros because like everything that I've ever done has been with like warm or semi warm intros. And you never know because one day, even though you don't have a product idea right now, because you've built those warm intros, by the time that you do build something, you already have the connections in place so you could like execute on what you want to do. Like you could just meet people now and then 2 years later, you'll never know how that connection can completely change the trajectory of your life. That's what I think. Like early access to information and really good people can change the trajectory of your life. I know that was a bit of a ramble, but that's my brain has been like that this past 2 weeks.
No, 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 that's excellent. Like, I think you said a lot of valid things. And
Yeah.
topic of platforms, actually, I think X right now is probably the most garbage, terrible place in the world, at least for content creation. It's just a bunch of people like really infatuated with Hinge and brain rot, but like it's
Yeah.
like even like the Gen Z brain rot. It's like a very unique subset of brain rot that not many people understand. And I just think like, for probably the smartest kids in the country, it's like very disappointing to see, Like, cause
Mhm.
it's like, why are we fascinated by Hinge? Like it's just very normal. Like, I think if you're the average 19 to 21, 22-year old, you might see Hinge and just not think much of it, but it's like a genuine fascination for these people. And
Mhm.
I mean, we'll see where it goes, but I think it's a pretty odd trend.
I mean, I haven't been on X, to be honest. Like, I've barely been on Twitter. I'm mostly on, like, Instagram, TikTok, and now I'm, like, a power user of LinkedIn. But I can get that sentiment. Like, I've heard that X is, like, the place, but given what you're saying, you wanna roast their product too.
Yeah. I mean, like I like Musk what he's doing. I think other communities of Twitter might be,
Mhm.
but X, at least in the startup world, is just so trashy. Like I would never got it.
Well, in, like, the startup world, I kinda wanna ask you a different question. What are you most excited about, especially with what you guys are doing at Series?
Yeah, I mean, I see like a trend right now, at least when we've been refreshing LinkedIn or been keeping up with the news, everyone's raising. Everyone is
Mhm,
raising. So that's good for like the startup space in general, right? It means there's a lot of money going out right now. And that means that investors are very much willing to just put their money where their mouth is and just kind of go crazy on ideas that they're willing to swing big for. So for
mhm,
us, that means like if we just lock in, we do our thing, we take over mindshare when it comes to just the world itself, it gives us a unique platform for us to be able to spread the message of a different kind of consumer social that
mhm,
investors, startup people, and then the general consumer after that fact can resonate with the highest, right? Because where
mhm,
there is money pumped in, there's attention overlaid. From that attention also comes like a wide adoption from, the general populace, right? Like the mainstream.
mhm.
So if we can continue to ride the wave that we have now of being the most viral startup in the startup space, then we can really become like the usher between the mainstream and the startup world. And that would be a very unique position that I think will be very advantageous for us.
I really love that, like, positioning because you're kinda, like, in the middle and you could be kind of like a connector in a sense. I think a lot of Gen Z startups nowadays, like, I've seen the one with, like, Roy Lee and Fia, like, they're leveraging social media and AI, and they're growing like crazy, and so that's kind of, like, what I've been seeing, especially with Gen Z, just leveraging content production to help them grow within their company, and it's actually crazy.
And I'll tell you one more thing. I think we at Series are in a very unique position. If you
Mhm,
ask about what mainstream culture is right now, it's Black culture, right? Like Black culture has taken over what the mainstream is. You see Kai Cenat doing his Mafia-thon right now. You see Speed doing his world
mhm.
tour. Rappers, everyone wants to go see a rapper. Everyone wants to just honestly be part of Black culture in its capacity to bring us all together, right? And at a company where we have two Black founders, they have the unique position to both merge a world that has traditionally been seen as white and Asian and this
Mhm,
mainstream culture that is just expression, right? And so,
mhm,
like, to be the middle is the goal of series, but it's also part of who Sean and Nathaniel are and like their characters, like uh underprivileged Black kids with single moms who then got to Yale. Like, I feel like that's a combination of the general sentiment of the world and then almost like this elite sentiment of the world. They show that you can really do anything and that you can
mhm,
connect things together even if they're not typically seen. And
mhm,
because they aren't like the typical mold that you would see in the startup world, it gives them a unique advantage to be like almost thought leaders in that way for a population and a group that isn't really advocated for when it comes to like forward thinking tech or consumer social generally.
mhm. I definitely get that. I feel like Silicon Valley, how I believe Silicon Valley to be is so different than like what the actual Silicon Valley is. And I'm not saying it in the city in the sense. I'm saying in the sense of like a place where people innovate and create new things. Like the kind of archetype that you would think would be the one from the HBO show. I don't know if you've seen it, Silicon Valley from HBO. That's kind of like what you think.
Sounds cool.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I've seen it. It's crazy. I'm saying that like the innovation of people building really cool things, that representation looks very different. I personally have had a very different experience. Like I started coding at a girls' summer camp and called Girls Who Code. And then in there, they told me there's no representation in tech. So then from there, I was always very adamant and very intentional about who I surround myself with. And I've been very lucky to always be surrounded by diverse people in tech. And that's kind of how I have this sort of like audacity in terms of things. And like on TikTok, I see people like in fashion tech or like doing really cool stuff. And they don't look like the typical SF tech bro with a beer belly. They're in the corner, they're antisocial. I'm like, no, there's this creator, I don't know if you know her. Her name's Nabiha. She has really great fashion sense, but like she also codes and she also has her own thing and it's just like things like that, like the innovation of like the archetype of the startup person is going to change so much, especially now with Gen Z, because we care about representation, we care about expressing ourselves and creativity and showcasing our skills. Like you can get like the Silicon Valley results without being a typical Silicon Valley kind of guy. Are
Yeah.
you understanding what I'm saying? Like I
No,
think that
100%.
it's so cool. And honestly, I think people like Nathaniel, those kind of voices need to be uplifted more because voices like that, it kind of inspires other people to do big things and try hard. And if they can see themselves doing something great, then that will either help them build their own thing or that could help you guys get your next employee if you want, you know? That's what I believe.
Yeah, I mean, I would say this. Funny enough that you mentioned Nabiha, she actually was on the Hamptons show. She was
Oh,
one. Yeah, yeah,
fun. That's awesome. I follow her online.
yeah.
Yeah.
But I think like that speaks to like a really big thing that you said, which is it's really interesting to see a diverse array of voices out
Mhm.
in the startup world right now. And it's been a longstanding belief of mine that women are actually better than men in most capacities in an executive function. Like I think that
Mhm.
like real killers at the top of the industry will likely be women, right? Like, I think that they can operate on those levels actually 10 times better than even, like, the top men can. They just haven't been given the opportunity to. So when you
Mhm.
see it on a distribution graph, like, maybe you would see it as, like, the absolute exceptional women in this given space could probably run laps around men. And I
Mhm.
think that a unique opportunity for female founders now as we push towards like kind of like this golden age of startups after, like all these other tech startups that have kind of stood up and hardware
Mhm.
startups. But in the AI boom, women have like a large opportunity. We'll see an influx of even more women founders and hopefully like positive role models at that for future women founders. And I think that that doesn't just limit it to women, but it does show like diversity across the board in startups can really be what pushes people or just the space forward and also just innovation forward because we have people with different ideologies, different ways of approaching things, different views on products coming in and just changing essentially what the groundwork is for what a startup is and what a generalized use consumer products become.
I love the fact that you're saying how there's going to be a shift for women because I think women, we have really two big advantages, which is if we leverage personal branding and connections, the connections
Mhm.
that we have with people, because women are community builders. They really love interacting, having relationships. So like having being relationship first and having a really strong personal brand, they're gonna matar, like
Mhm.
they're gonna obliterate basically everything. That's what I think. Sorry, my Dominican came out for like 2 seconds there. What would you say is like the one thing you're most scared of, especially now with your role?
Yeah. What I would say, I'm actually scared that we're going to get too much attention before our product is in a great place, right? Like, I think that our product is already relatively great right now, but
Mhm,
as we get more and more attention, I feel like the product should scale at the same time, right? But obviously, our developers are very hardworking people, some of the most talented kids in the country. We have people from all kinds of places. We have people from Apple or Raytheon, Salesforce, Meta, like, but at the end of the day, like tech development, writing out code, it takes time. While marketing
Mhm.
is almost an exponential feature, right? It's an exponential thing. Once you let it out into the world gets to decide how viral it is, and then from there it just snowballs. So my biggest fear is that we do something that's so big and it just can't accommodate for where our product is right now. And we sort of lose steam from the attention that we have just
Mhm.
because the tools of today and more likely like the time constraints that we usually have working at such an aggressive startup like ours isn't able to keep up with the amount of attention that we can garner.
The thing with like the startup world is that it's so like you think it's different than like doing school assignment, but it's not. It's like imagine if you're doing like a big research project, but like now you have money involved. That's exactly what I feel like growing in a startup feels like. It feels like a big homework assignment that never ends.
You think that? I think it's like, I don't even know if there's like a metaphor for it. It's more like it's just like a massive playground. Like you're like
Mm,
a young kids working on like something crazy important with a lot of money behind you, and like the antics that you get after while doing it are just always so funny, right? Like we just literally did a reality TV show for attention because our product is something that's changing the way that we connect. Or this morning we came in to work late and some of our devs had to do planks for how many minutes they were late, right? It's like, can this really be real life? Is this what it looks like to be at the cutting edge of, like technology that is supposed to change the world? And it's like, it's so cool to see that like element of fun loving, interesting, like personability is still there when we are doing something very important. Because I feel like it's a lot stripped away when you go to corporate. I get to see it with the kids who go to my school, right?
mhm,
Like I go to Michigan Ross for anyone who doesn't know, and it's
mhm.
one of the best business schools, undergraduate at least, in the country, without a doubt. And a lot of people get into places like McKinsey, Bain. They go to
BC.
investment banks. Yeah, they go to like investment banks like Goldman, JP, and they just they come back from their summers, they're drained. But more importantly, it's like they strip something out of them, right? I'm proud to say that even though we do work really long hours as a startup, all of us are still human.
Mhm. I get that. I definitely understand that feeling of the corporate drain because I've been
Mhm,
in corporate like 3 times for my summers. And like I've literally spent on my personal projects more time than in corporate, but I feel more energized whenever I do a personal project than when I'm working for 8 hours. Like literally for when I first started the podcast, no one in my school has ever done a podcast like mine. And I executed insane. So like I'm gonna reveal the secret of how I was able to like shoot so many episodes. I literally for 2 weeks shot all the episodes
mhm.
and then I released it in the span of 3 months. But I already had them shot. Like they were already finished. It was insane, and I would be from, like, 8 AM in the morning all the way to 5 PM at night at, like, my entrepreneurship center at school that, like, people thought that I worked here. I was like, "No, I'm literally just a little crazy." And I was able to because I used to edit ever since I was 12, like, I love video editing. I was able to edit them fast. I had a friend who helped me edit, and then I had a friend who helped me with marketing. Boom, pa, 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 pa. People were asking me, "Oh, how can I get a job at your company?" I'm like, "That's not a company, it's a side project." And like I spent so much time. I had so much fun. Like literally, I love talking to people because I don't think any skill is like no one owns it. Like if someone else has a podcast, cool. I want to do it myself because I want to learn and I want to meet people. And I think it's really fun to like learn. I'm such a nerd. But like when I was in my summer, I'll say like at Dell, I was doing software engineering for an internal tool. I was
Mhm.
literally there 8 hours every day coding. I didn't have the energy once I got home. And I'm just like I like to code, but like when I'm coding by myself versus when I'm coding with a company, it's just like two different experiences. That's why I pivoted to product
Yeah.
management, which is a little bit more crazy than software engineering, but at least I get a bit more excitement than just like coding all day, you know? And so I definitely get that sentiment of like you feel like you're just having fun at the same time while building a product that users love. And then you have a bunch of money and you're young. So like you don't have a bad knee. You could like go to Vegas, 24 hours, have fun, and then come back,
Uh,
take a Red Bull, and just vibe. That's it.
yeah, like, that's definitely in the cards for sure soon.
A
Maybe not
party
Vegas,
day.
just somewhere else, low key. Like, I really like Austin, Texas. It's one of my favorite places in the world. Big Austin, Texas fan.
I like the brisket from Texas because I've been to Austin, but and I've also been to Dallas, but I low key like Dallas more than Austin because of the brisket. That's the
That's
one
just
thing I'm gonna have to
raw.
disagree with you on.
But, like, Austin's just beautiful. It's, like, almost like a technological forest is the way that I would,
Mhm.
describe it. It's, like, really pretty, very natural, but it's also very advanced in a way. Like, it just looks really cool, and the weather's great.
I mean, it's hot though. That's the only thing. Have you ever been to Miami?
I have not as an adult. I went when I was a kid, but I haven't
Mm.
gotten to come back around.
You have to visit Miami sometime. We're pretty cool. We have something called cafecito, like cafecito cubano, which is like Cuban coffee. It's like
Uh-huh.
a staple here. If you ever visit Miami, you have to come get some cafecito cubano and like you're gonna have the best time of your life with that.
The sound in Texas. I mean,
Yeah.
there's other things in Miami too, but yeah,
Mhm.
that's definitely one.
I think one of the fun parts about traveling and meeting new people from other states, you get to live your life, but like if you were to live in that other state, and you get to have a wider network more than just what you have in your cities. I think traveling is like the best thing you could do. Like I travel to conferences all the time. I love doing that because I love to like expand my brain, expand the people that I talk to because it's so fun.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. I went on a trip last year around this time with,
Mhm.
who became, like, one of my closest friends, this, 19-year-old kid who graduated early from Berkeley and worked at Citadel. I went with a bunch of his friends from Berkeley. We just went to Mexico. Honestly, still one of the greatest trips so far over these last 21 years. It was just really nice to see everyone across the board just really cracked, but also just knew how to have a good time, and that's my favorite group of people who don't get caught up in the minutia of things, but when it gets time to work, like, they can really work. Like, that's the important part.
Mhm. So kind of like a brain with a bit of humor is what you
Or
would say.
maybe what we say in Michigan, like a work hard, play hard mindset. Like, when time comes to work, you work, but when you start partying, like, or just whatever, like, whatever you like to do in your free time, right? You just get down.
You just go crazy basically.
Yeah.
No, we love that. We love that. And I think that that's like the great thing about I think the shift that's happening now, especially in the tech space, especially with Gen Z now entering, building their own things, is that we're changing the way in which products are built and also how we connect with each other. We grew up with social media, so we know how to use it, we know how to leverage it, and we know how to expand our message without being like cocky, without being like weird. Like we like to connect with people on a human level while
Mhm.
also working really hard. And I absolutely love that about Gen Z and our generation.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. But, like, I think some people's, personalities kinda, like, lends more to, like, certain features. Like, some people might appear more cocky, some people might appear more humble, but might not actually be like that. I think, like,
Mhm,
regardless, when it comes to self-expression, you always demonstrate yourself out to be who you think you are, but it's up to a person, or
mhm,
rather, like, just generally a bullshit meter to determine if someone's being honest and genuine or not. And I think that that's actually one of the added benefits of something like an AI friend, right? Over the time that you communicate with them, it understands you better. It better understands your core desires, who you want to meet, what you want to do. And from there, it can both provide you with a seamless service to gear towards whatever you desire without you even saying it, and give those people who connect with you a better description of who you are that even you can't give, right? And I think
mhm,
that's, like, one of the best things about this concept of warm introductions and technology is that
mhm,
technology asymmetry is so large, especially if it's used more and more, that
mhm,
kinda get to know everything within the world, the people that you know better than you and can make that flow of communication, the way that you connect with each other, much more frictionless because it knows that if y'all came together, you'd be a good match, whether that's a
mhm.
friendship, relationship, whatever, in a different way than even humans can. Because, at the end of the day, I would say, like, while sometimes our intuitions can be good, they can be very off at times.
Yeah. And I really like the fact that you're using the visibility that you have to make something that's useful for users. I believe that like leverage, like if you have a platform but you don't have human centric design, that is missed opportunity.
Yeah.
Awesome, awesome. Well, before we wrap off, I do want to give you like a space to say something or anything that I haven't brought up yet.
Yeah. I would say that it's my belief that traditional networking is dead and that social media provides a unique opportunity for people to network in a different way. What I mean by that different way is that you can network at scale. That's what I describe social media to be, right? Networking is one to one. Social media is networking at scale. If you want to meet as many interesting, unique people who fit your profile, who are similar to you, you can do that for the most part on the largest platform by creating content. And the best hidden incentive is that a lot more people know your name than you know theirs, and that gives you kind of leverage to meet who you wanna meet when you wanna meet them. So, I would say if you're underutilizing the space, that is technology, if you find yourself being overtly a consumer rather than a producer on social media, you're missing out on probably the biggest home run that you can have in the capacity by just posting and by making yourself your tiny little existence being known on this massive rock. You quite literally are missing out on so much money, so much opportunity, so much, really anything that you want.
Yeah, I completely agree. I completely agree. I think content creators are the new educators. They're the new people who are inspiring people. They're the new entertainers. They're like actors are not getting booked. It's content creators. It's the people who have the willingness to stand up and make their voices heard because I think closed mouths they do not get fed. So you got to be a
Yeah.
little bit loud, take the risk. It's very scary, but it's worth it. I mean, like, look at me. I'm a girl from Miami, and I'm talking with Ace, bro. You know what I'm talking about? Let's go.
I would say there is another thing that I have,
Yeah.
which is be controversial, bro. It's okay if you want to be
Mhm.
crazy, if you got to be insane, if you want to say some things that people don't think you should say, or
Yeah.
do things that aren't traditionally seen as acceptable in your given niche, do it, bro.
Mhm.
The reason why is attention is that new commodity. And when you do things that are different from other people, you get the attention to do what you want. And the
Mhm.
more that you limit yourself based off of things that you think you can't do instead of asking the question, why can't I do it? And understanding after you ask that question, if it's actually like a net negative to your life as opposed to a net positive. Because quite honestly, a lot of societal regulation, a lot of societal expectations don't work in your favor. It just works because it's more convenient to sit in the uncomfortability of not doing something that you want to do than to do it yourself. So if you take that moment and you really realize why you should do something, go ahead and do it, bro. Just do it and see how much your life changes once you take those risks and keep taking calculated out risks. You
Mhm.
will get to where you want to be faster on the most aggressive timeline compared to anyone else.
You know, there's a thing with your brain that, like, if you give it more physical examples, very, like, verifiable data points rather than your imagination, you'll feel more confident to do the scary thing. So, like, if right now you're thinking about, like, "I wanna create content, but I don't know how to create content." Have you even posted a video? Have you ever talked in front of a camera? Like, by the time you do that once, it's gonna suck. You're gonna fail at the in the beginning because everyone's a beginner. But then you're gonna be like, it wasn't that bad. Or like when you send a cold message to someone, like if you've never done that before, you're gonna think like, oh my god, because your brain is only relying on imagination and what other people say. Where it's like, no, try it for yourself. Be a little bit skeptical. So like you test your biases, be a skeptic, and try it out for yourself, so your brain can have a more realistic, expectation of what things are, and you'll realize that people are actually nicer than you think, that like you're much closer to your goals than you think. You just have to be a little bit gutsy. That's what I like to say. You got to be a little bit insane, a little bit gutsy, but it works.
Mhm.
It works.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Ace, thank you so much for coming onto the show. I think this was such a great conversation. I love a yap. I haven't yapped in a bit. And now that I have this new season of Forward Thinker Show, now we can have Yapathon City. We love it. Yeah, so now I'm gonna give you the space to promote anything that you'd like and how people can find you.
Yeah. Um, the product that we've been talking about so far, Series.so, it is an AI social network that connects people by using AI agents or AI friends rather on a native platform that pretty much everyone has, which is iMessage, to allow you to meet the right people at the right time. And you will find it to be the most unique antithesis to social media, unique way of communicating to people through warm intros that you will find out right now. So go ahead and try it at series.so. And if you want to see more of me, Ace got you on Instagram, Ace got you on TikTok, but you don't even have to do that. Just check out series.so.
Love that. Well, thank you so much, Ace.
Thank you, Coral. Appreciate you talking to us.
Thanks for listening to the Forward Thinker Show. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe so you never miss an episode.